I was doing Taryn Toomey's The Class this morning, and she asked a question that made me stop dead in my tracks. She asked, "What is the feeling that comes after action?" So often we're so focused on the doing part and simply checking things off the list, whether that's in a workout class or in our work lives, that we miss the feedback that comes from our emotional body. We miss the opportunity to ask ourselves, how did these actions that I'm doing make me feel? The invitation and permission to explore the feeling that arose after the action was so beautiful and got me thinking, why don't we incorporate this into our work lives? Why don't we teach this in business school? Why isn't this incorporated into most leadership curriculums? Well, it is now. The old paradigm taught us that feelings in business are undesirable, a distraction, a deterrent, something to be avoided. Yet as humans, our brains are wired to feel first and then think. Since feelings drive behavior, remember Simon Sinek's Start With Why? As conscious leaders, we have to understand that not just our feelings, but the feelings of those we interact with on a regular basis, and use those feelings to make better decisions. The new paradigm invites us to ask questions and then deeply listen to what our feelings are trying to tell us. And then once we've had the chance to process, to consciously communicate how we feel to our team, that way we can have a more solid understanding of the bigger picture and better navigate the deeper complexities and nuances of the business challenges that you face. The new CEO knows not only how to access their feelings, but how to make decisions and set up their work lives and companies with the core intention of feeling good, especially nowadays when we're swimming in uncertainty. Everyone's wondering what comes next. The beauty of feeling your feelings in a work context is that you don't need a crystal ball when you know how to tap into your emotional body to get crystal clear. You're able to focus and feel confident about the best next step, which hopefully alleviates some of that anxiety around having to know the entire plan forward, which nobody knows right now, PS. All right, so here's what you're going to learn in this short 5-minute video. Why we prioritize thinking over feeling in business and what happens when we don't listen to our feelings, and an exercise that gives you 2 easy ways to start listening to your feelings as a CEO, a founder, or executive, even if you've been burying them for a long time. First, though, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Natalie Underdown, an organizational psychologist and executive coach who helps purpose-driven leaders create greater impact, revenue, and work-life balance. All right, so as the majestic Taryn Toomey would say, let's begin. First, let's explore why we prioritize thinking over feeling in business and what happens when we don't listen to our feelings. As women, especially, we prioritize thinking over feeling in business because we're taught not to feel at work. Don't cry at work. Don't be emotional. Be happy, but not too happy. I once had a boss tell me, people don't trust people who are too happy. This is when I lived in New York, so that might make sense. Express some concern, but not too much. Get close, but not too close. This is what we hear as we're coming up the ranks, but we often don't realize how much these mixed messages have adversely impacted our career until we're at a senior level. Because once we're a CEO or executive or someone with a significant amount of power, then all of a sudden people are more interested in what we're thinking and how we're behaving. So then all of a sudden we're penalized for not demonstrating the traditional feminine behavior that requires us to be able to access, demonstrate, and act on our feelings, right? Have you ever experienced that? So first things first, let's explore our fluency in the language of feelings. We can't fully experience something if we can't fully conceptualize what that is. And so being able to name the feeling is really important. Also, if we can't name it, we certainly can't make decisions based on it, and we can't avoid it or we can't replicate it. Being able to name your feelings makes you more emotionally intelligent, but we're taught not to feel at work. So most of those feelings, especially in a work context, get stuffed down and saved for later when it's safe for them to come out. We've all seen this play out, though. It's not good. There's either like a volcanic eruption where everything comes up and out and then you're damaging relationships all around you. Or even worse, the feeling stays stuffed down, acting like a low-level virus or a cancer, slowly robbing you of your health, joy, vitality, vibrancy. No, thank you. You're never going to reach the levels of success that you dream of in either of those scenarios. Well, you might, but you probably won't enjoy it. So take a step back. I'd like for you to think about a recent time where you were going about your workday and a deep, overwhelming feeling surfaced. What were you doing right in that moment? Can you name the feeling that came up for you? Was it anger, frustration, fear, joy? Imagine that. If you're having a hard time naming that feeling that you felt, I'd like for you to tune into our deeper conversation where we're going to be going more in depth on this. Okay. Also, a successful, powerful woman is made only more powerful when she is in touch with her feelings, when she owns them and she can communicate them, and in turn, effectively deal with others and their feelings as well. Yeah? Yeah, I think so. All right. So I'd like for you to do a really quick exercise. I'd like for you to write down the 3 things that take up the most time for you in your work. Then write down how you feel after completing each one. So for example, if one-on-one meetings with your team take up an entire day of your week and leave you feeling depleted, your feelings are telling you that you need to make some changes in how you do your one-on-ones. This may seem really obvious, but you'd be surprised how many women executives simply keep doing what they're doing these things that deplete and exhaust them, yet they have the power to change them. I'm not telling you not to do one-on-ones, but maybe it's how you're doing your one-on-ones. What is it about these meetings that make you feel that way? Do your team members ramble on and on about things that don't matter? Do they come, but they're not prepared? Do they spend too much time talking about the personal instead of the business? How can you make a small shift in these meetings so that you'd feel differently? Maybe you can make them 45 minutes instead of an hour. Maybe you can ask your team members to send an agenda in advance to keep them focused and have them run the meetings, which they should be doing anyway. Maybe you can take time between these meetings to move, breathe, recenter yourself. Would that make you feel differently? Listen, I get not everything in your work life is going to feel amazing all the time, but that's why we're focusing on the areas where you spend the most time. If you can get the 3 areas where you spend the most time to feel good, then more of your work life is going to feel good. All right, so let's quickly summarize. As a female CEO, founder, executive, the more powerful you become, the more your success depends on you being an emotionally intelligent leader. And in turn, the more you can build your career and company and work life around feeling good. The more you feel good, the more success you're going to enjoy. So you'll need to be able to name your feelings, and you'll want to map out how the 3 things where you spend the most time in your work life, how do they make you feel? If this is not how you want to feel, then dive into what specifically doesn't make you feel good so that you can look for small, actionable changes. All right, that's it for part 1. If you're interested in learning more, join me and my friend and co-host, Bindi Boulanger, for part 2, where we'll be all up in our feelings, but like our work feelings, and going deeper into the conversation. All right, we'll see you there.